Dybala! He is something else. Di Lorenzo, and still Di Lorenzo! The captain brings the house down. Partenopea champions once again, but the 33-year wait will now officially come to an end.
Ciao ragazzi, and welcome to another edition of Serie A Sit Down, World Football Index's podcast for your Calcio to go. I'm Frank Crivello. He's Richard Carmen. Ciao, Richard.
Ciao, Frank.
What the hell did you do to this place? I go away for 3 weeks. Daddy leaves the house for like 3 weeks and trusts the Calcio kids, and I come back and it's all trashed.
Yeah. You want to take a bet? No, it's unbelievable. You know, the international break is supposed to be a time where we kind of rejuvenate, get back focused and relax, enjoy a little Calcio on the international stage. We didn't have any of that. It was all anxiety, all anxious, all rumors, all kinds of shit going on left and right. We could not take a break. Wow is all I'm going to say.
Oh, welcome. And the chat is here. Anthony, Reno Z's here. Dominic's here. Good to have you. If you're tuning in, please check in with us in the chat. I wasn't going to have a beer tonight. I was going to say, let's get through this and all this other stuff. But now that I've processed everything that's gone on, I can't help it. Here we go.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I thought you were going to chug that for a second.
No. Those days are long gone. That's college, my friend. That's the last time I chugged a beer.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, it's just it's insane. It's absolutely insane. But how are you otherwise?
I'm good. I mean, the weather's been fantastic. It's been nice fall weather. Actually, got to have a nice date with my wife for the first time in years, it feels like. So it was a good weekend. It was a good weekend overall. So outside of Calcio, it was great.
My wife's birthday is coming up next Thursday, so I'm already
coming up this week too. So
yeah, I'm already telling her. I said you need pick where you want to go out to dinner. We're going to actually go out on a date. We're going to get away from the kids. Yeah. We're trying to also figure out we're trying to get to a point where we're trying to go on a trip for a long weekend and get away from the kids as well. So kids are getting at that age where, I'm not going to do what I just did here with Calcio. There will be adult supervision for my kids.
Yeah.
But man, I can't, but it's just insane. But yeah. So yeah.
Make sure you sign out of your DraftKings if you do leave. Okay.
What's that?
Make sure you sign out of your DraftKings accounts if you do go out.
Hey, speaking of which, DraftKings actually treated me pretty good yesterday. Udinese and Lecce. I had Florian Thauvin as captain and 1-1 draw, and I scripted it all for that. So I had a nice little profit on that match. So I was surprised that I think that was paying out. I think I was surprised with the contest. It was $15 an entry, and they're paying out $2,000 to the winner. So it's
as long as you didn't bet against Serie A Sit Down, that's all that matters.
I didn't bet against Serie A Sit Down.
Good. You won't get in trouble with the feds.
Well, no, I don't know where you're going with it. Oh, yes, I see where you're going with it now.
Daddy's got to catch up now. Come on.
So no, but see, I don't play football professionally, so I can go ahead and partake in this kind of stuff.
Fair enough.
But anyway. We're going to get to that. We've got so much to talk about. We're going to recap the Azzurri. We're going to and pardon the brevity on all of the topics because there's just so much to cover tonight, everybody. But we will cover the Azzurri's performance over the international break. We're going to talk about this gambling scandal. Who's implicated? Who do we know is probably screwed, and who's being talked about getting screwed here? Papu Gomez banned for 2 years shortly after joining Monza. We'll talk about that. And there was Calcio played over the weekend. We'll get into that. MilanJuventus. Reno wants to probably come in here and pound his chest. And congratulations, Reno, on the win. But quite frankly, and it's not because we don't like Juve. We literally don't have a lot to say about that game. I mean, if there's a big game with almost nothing, pretty much nothing to say about it, it's that one. And then we'll talk about the rest of match week 9. Get into Champions League wins for Inter and Napoli today. Preview PSG Milan going on tomorrow. Who does Lazio have again?
Oh, I don't remember.
Is it Feyenoord this time?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I wanted to say it was Feyenoord. Chad, help me out before I'm trying to get in. I'm trying to get into the.
We'll figure it out along the podcast.
It is Feyenoord. I was right.
There you go.
So in Holland. So and then we'll also quick scan through Europa and Conference League. Finish with the world's most popular hashtag game. Who on Calcio Twitter? We're still calling it Who on Calcio Twitter. We refuse to give in to calling it Who on Calcio X.
And there's a lot of nominees. Thanks to the kids.
Yeah, we got a lot to go through. It is going to be a busy night. So get your favorite drink. Hang out with us here for a little while as we get you through all of this. And let's start with Italy, Richard. And I'm going to give you my take on what I think happened and how what I think Spalletti's thought process was throughout this international break. A 3-0 win over Malta with arguably their strongest possible side. 4-0, excuse me. With arguably their strongest possible side. And then a changed lineup, putting a player like Scalvini, who we think has a lot of promise, but maybe not the right environment to have him play in a game like this, but losing to England 3-1 after a 1-goal lead. So give us your version of the events you saw with Italy's 2 games over the break.
I see Eric's comments in the chat. I'm not going to go there. My 2 thoughts. I mean, the game against Malta, good result. Had, like you said, probably their strongest lineup there. It was good to see. Obviously, Anthony Privetra, who was joined me on the podcast last time. We talked about how the good feel story was for Bonaventura to finally get called up, and then he gets the first goal on his first start, which is amazing to see. And they get the formal victory 4-0 there. There's a formality there, and then again against England, I knew what was coming from the beginning. Obviously, we had high hopes on this. I didn't get a chance to watch the game live, but I knew what was going to happen. And then when I saw the lineup, I'm like, okay, I have a really strong feeling what's going to happen here. Obviously, this game's being played in London, and with the guy like Jude Bellingham, who is playing on a world-class level at the moment, it was going to be a long day for the Azzurri, and it sure did. It sure proved like it, and I think there's a couple takeaways from this, right? It's good you get the result against Malta. I think it was important in the grand scheme of things. It also showed a glaring weakness, and yes, the loss to England sucks. Is it the end all be all? No, there's still opportunity, but the most glaring thing for me was the lack of depth on this team, and the defense is shambolic at the moment. It is not a worthy Azzurri defensive lineup that one of the worst defensive performances I've ever seen. Worst defensive lineups we have, and Bastoni didn't do himself well. Scalvini, Acerbi, you name it. Anybody in the back four who played in that game was pretty atrocious, and so that was a big takeaway for me. Not so much that we lost to England; it was just that the defenders we have these days, there's no one that screams world-class level, right? There's no Cannavaros, there's no Maldinis, no Nestas. You name it. You name those defenders. Zanetti's Argentinian anyway, but there's no defensive player that screams at you like, wow, watch out for this guy. He's going to control the game. No Baresi of the world. And it's not what we come accustomed to for the Azzurri. Azzurri, yes, we're not the Catenaccio that we used to be. We are a little bit more attacking, but still the heart of the Azzurri is the defense, and there was none in the England game. And so some things to correct with 2 big games still left to play. But I think the England game's a throwaway if you're Spalletti.
I'm going to give a take that's probably going to be sideways from what everybody else was thinking with this Italy performance, with these 2 games. I think Spalletti can get pretty analytical with what he's working with. Okay. And I think he looks at this situation. Look, let me back up. My overview of what I'm about to say is I think Spalletti approached this international break with the bigger picture in mind. Okay. And that bigger picture is qualifying and getting to Euro 2024. Now, people are going to take a look at this and tell me, well, how could that be with the lineup that they put out against England? Well, hear me out. Do you put this lineup against Malta? And what if you don't get the result? Okay. So what I think happens here is Spalletti has a pool of players, many of whom are playing every 3 days as it is.
Yep.
Okay. So he looks at the Malta game and he says, we need to win this 3 points. I'm not screwing this up. My best possible lineup goes out and gets those 3 points.
Yep.
Does that. Now, turns around to the Italy game, makes adjustments, or the England game, makes adjustments, changes the team, gives Udogi a start, gives Scalvini a start, gives Fratesi a start, Scamacca and El Shaarawy, okay, and says, all right, not my strongest team, going to England where we're underdogs. I'll put this team out here. If I can get something out of it, great. If I don't and I lose, nothing really changes with the big picture.
Yeah.
Okay? They still have to go and win their last 2 games no matter what would have happened against England. Okay? They have to beat North Macedonia and they have to beat Ukraine. Now, you could make the argument that, okay, get something against England or beat England, beat North Macedonia, and now you're ahead of Ukraine. You go into that Ukraine game only needing a draw. Probably understands that. But I think Spalletti probably looks at this and says, if Italy can't win against North Macedonia and at Ukraine on our last round of qualifiers, then we don't deserve to go to Euro 2024 anyway. And I think a lot of the Azzurri fan base will agree. I would agree with that. I agreed with it. Hey, we got 32 chances in a World Cup qualifying playoff against North Macedonia and can't score. Forget about trying to get past Portugal in the next round to try to qualify for the World Cup. If we can't get it done against North Macedonia, we definitely don't deserve to go to the World Cup. Okay? And I think the same line of thinking is going on here with Spalletti. It's just Italy fans aren't going to like that, and I understand. But a manager has long-range planning to do.
In the past, what we would have seen from Mancini or whomever was that, hey, it's Malta, let's throw some more scrubs, and kind of what Vincent's saying, why didn't Acerbi and Scalvini start that game and then put the big dogs against England? And to your point, what's the point? You put your B lineup against Malta, and what have we seen from the Azzurri over the last, 8 years? Games against Malta is where we blow them. We don't play the best lineups, even if we play the best lineup sometimes, and we can't even get a result. And so why not put your best 11 against Malta and assure the 3 points? And then England, if you played our best 11, there is a low probability that you're going to win that game. Now, you may get a draw. That's great. But then you get a draw in the England game and maybe you get a draw in the Malta game. Whereas in this situation, you get 3 points from Malta, 0 from England, and you're 1 point better than you would have been. And now you have a very realistic chance of moving on if you handle business against North Macedonia and Ukraine. But I understand that thinking, and I am in agreement with that. And in the past, we would have done the opposite. We would have thrown our scrubs against a smaller team and gone for the big, stick out our chest and see what we can do against England. It's like, no, this is not a tournament. This is trying to qualify for a tournament. So you got to do what you got to do to get the maximum points as possible. And I think what Spalletti, how he entered into this, was correct in hindsight.
And now let's just and put it into that context. Let's just take it a step further. This lineup that you see on this screen here, you put that against Malta. Let's say they come out of that with a draw. And now you're putting the burden on the better lineup to win against England to keep pace with Ukraine. And you don't do that. Now you're 5 points. Now you're 5 points behind Ukraine. Okay. And you put Ukraine in a situation where a draw gets them through. Okay. And you put you put even more pressure on the situation. So I think that Spalletti, I'm trying to get in Spalletti's mind, and I think that this was the path that he chose for those reasons, while at the same time managing his team with a lot of these guys playing every 3 days. It's like, all right, can't keep running these guys into the ground too. So I think I'm pretty sure it's understood in that Italy camp that no matter what was going to happen with this round of internationals, that they were going to have to win the last 2 games anyway. So it didn't really, it was almost like saying that the England game was really a throwaway game.
Yeah.
Right. So now the fans and aren't going to like hearing that. But
Yeah.
you're right. What are you trying to do? Get to the tournament, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you punt one just to have yourself set up, and then and in the end, Italy still controls their own destiny.
Yeah, and this only works is if Italy go out and handle business the next 2 games. If they don't, obviously many questions are going to be asked about the England and all that stuff, and that's fair. But I think the idea that Spalletti ran with his best team against Malta and then not his best team against England tells me that he's prepared for the long game, like you're saying, and that we should expect a better 2 good performances against North Macedonia and Ukraine. Let's cross our fingers and hopes, because I think the main goal for any Azzurri fan is to qualify. We did qualify for the World Cup 2 times in a row now, right? We won the Euros in 2020, but that's 4 years ago now, 3 years ago. So we need to qualify for some tournaments first. We're not at that level where we can start thinking about let's win a damn tournament. Let's get in.
And looking at the standings, just to take it another step further, if they beat North Macedonia, they'll be level on points with Ukraine, and they've already beaten Ukraine, which means going to Ukraine, well, really Poland. They just need a draw because they'll have the head-to-head. I believe it's head-to-head because they'll already have a superior goal difference over Ukraine. Right now, Italy's at +4 and Ukraine's at just +3. And if they beat North Macedonia, they're going to add to that goal difference. So if that's the first tiebreaker, well, then a draw is still going to do.
Right.
So this England game was meaningless in the context of trying to qualify for Euro 2024. And that's the argument I'm willing to make, and I'll stand by it.
Yeah, Apex says, Italy just needs to be patient with Spalletti. For me, he is the right guy to take this new generation forward to the next level. I think most of us agree 100% on that.
Yeah. Some people might want to sit there and say, well, if you would have had your best team and they would have beaten England, well, then 2 draws against, a draw against North Macedonia and a draw against Ukraine is enough. And I said, yeah, that's fine. I understand that. I understand that line of thinking. But I mean,
how confident are you, going back to my earlier point, how confident are you in this Azzurri defense? I'm not talking about Scalvini and Acerbi. I'm talking about Mancini and Bastoni. Bastoni he looked weak in the England game. He's looked weak for Inter, today and this weekend. And he's had a little bit of a decline lately. And Mancini, we know what he is, right? He's the new Materazzi. He plays fairly consistent, but he's a red card waiting to happen at times if you get under his skin. But he is. I argue Mancini might be the best defender we have at the moment. Wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I'm not concerned. I'm not as concerned. I mean, you're throwing Scalvini in there against one of the best strikers in the world. I do think the players in that striker's backyard, no less.
Yeah. Well, I think the new backyard's in Byron, isn't it? But no, I am joking. I think
temporary residence, right?
Yeah, I think our advantage, despite having the center backs not being the strongest at camp, that we have really good wing backs, right? Di Lorenzo on his day is one of the best, certainly in Serie A, and he's certainly one of the best in Europe. And then Di Marco, he's shown how talented he is. Bastoni, when he's on his game, he's very good. And so, if we can get our attacking play and our wing backs playing at an optimal level, it'll at least, and we have some good central midfielders, we can kind of mask some of the pain that we have in the center back positions. And if Donnarumma gets out of his ass, I think we'll be fine. Maybe start Vicario, right? Or Provedel, but anyway.
Amazing, Vincent. Hear me out. What if the national team played Cristante at center back? Italy won't ququalify.
Do you want to get relegated?
Roma and Fonseca I believe Fonseca already tried this to disastrous effect. So I think it was Fonseca who did it.
I don't mind Cristante, and I think this podcast has come on numerous records saying Cristante at center back is a no at any level. Any level. Center midfielder, absolutely. I actually like Cristante at a midfield level. He can be a general in there, but center back, I am not a fan, and I would love to be won over by him, but that's a hard no for me. I'll pass.
I think you can almost argue though that the regista is a bigger problem than the center backs, in my opinion. I don't think Cristante, was very good against England. You can't bring Jorginho back because I think Jorginho's past it. So I think that is part of what's aggravating things with Italy defensively. You got Cristante, who's maybe above average at a couple of things and average at the rest. And then you've got Jorginho, who is an excellent passer from the position, but not a defender. You know, so
Barella
you don't.
is a shade of himself.
Yeah, and Barella really doesn't play that role. He plays to the left or plays to the right. So, are we getting back into that? Barella is playing too many games and is starting to get worn. Is starting to get burned out because we saw that happen.
We got Locatelli, right? Why play more Locatelli? Play more Fratese. Play more. I mean, there's some youngsters that you could be playing in that midfield. There's some good young Italian midfielders that you could be playing.
I wouldn't have said this 18 months ago. I would not have said this 18 months ago. But Manuel Locatelli has matured in that Regista role, playing for Allegri.
I don't remember who said this, and if I remember, I'll mention it on Twitter. But someone said that Locatelli is not. He is not your world. He's not going to be your like Zidane type player. He's not going to be your world beater or anything like that. But he's fairly consistent. It's when you get to the upper echelon games. Locatelli is a good like box to box guy. However, he needs some players around him. If you have some good pieces, like if Barella's playing at his best, if Jorginho or Cristante or Verratti are playing at their best, Locatelli can do his thing and he can be fine in that mix. But if you're depending on Locatelli to be the man for the midfield, it ain't going to happen. It's not. He's not. You can't make him out to be a Jude Bellingham, right?
No.
But he is good, and I do like Locatelli a lot since the Milan days. And I think he has yet to reach his potential. I think, with some consistency with Juventus and with the national team, I think it'll be good to have some rotation in the middle there to give some guys a rest, like Barella, who's certainly overworked.
Mm-hmm. Why not use Inter's formation? That would unlock 5 of the starters in that formation. That's not out of the question. Spalletti has experimented with 3 in the back before. He did it at Inter, actually. I don't think he did it at all at Napoli. I think he's straight up stuck with 4-3-3 the whole time. So that's an interesting question that's worth posing too.
We're both fans of Casale and Romagnoli in terms of center back. Why they don't get more playing time is beyond us, especially together, because they obviously they play so well together at Lazio. So we'll see, but hopefully Lazio continue to improve and they get a better chance at showcasing their ability with the Azzurri.
Yep. So hang in there, everybody. Italy still controls their destiny.
Yep.
Let's not get too panicked here. Moving on to, we got to talk some off the pitch stuff before we get back on the pitch. And this gambling scandal, I'll tell you, it is starting to, it's one of those things where it's just like, it's a little flame, you can control it. It's Fagioli, a little Tonali, a little Zaniolo, but now it's spreading. And let's why don't you share with everybody what we know and where we're at with things.
Well, it's no thanks to that rat Fabrizio Corona, not Romano, Corona, king of the paparazzi. He's a controversial figure. It's a guy who's been in jail for numerous scandals throughout the years. I think 2007, 2015, and most recent that I could think of. But he's got this website, and it's called like Dillinger News or something like that. And there is where he started identifying players who have been caught up in this betting scandal. And obviously, Fagioli is one of the names, right? He is potentially getting banned for 7 months, or he did get banned for 7 months, part of a plea deal. Tonali, a big name for Newcastle, potentially facing up to a year. Zaniolo is also under investigation. A whole bunch of other names are thrown out there. El Shaarawy is one that they mentioned recently, who he's claimed is false and is willing to sue him. But some other names that you guys should put on your radars, whether it come to fruition or not, we'll see. Casale from Lazio, Zalewski from Roma, Luis Alberto, Lazio, Rovella, Lazio, Pellegrini, Lazio, Fagioli, we know him, Barella, Inter, Gallo, Lecce, Zaccagni, Lazio, Cancellieri, Lazio, Berardi, Sassuolo, Bastoni, Inter, Gatti, Juventus. Those are just some of the names that have been mentioned. Obviously, the 3 main guys at the moment are Fagioli, Tonali, and Zaniolo. It seems, at least with Fagioli, it is a serious issue, meaning it is an addiction, because I heard stories that he got in trouble with the mafia. It was in debt. Had actually borrowed money for some of his players, from his teammates, so he can kind of get out of debt and do some more bets. So he's got like some kind of addiction going on. Tonali's agent saying that he's got an addiction as well. So at least those 2 are true. So I mean, like, what do you make of all this with all these guys possibly with their names at least in the mix? Whether this comes as true or not, we'll find out in the coming weeks. But thoughts on all this betting scandal that you're hearing first?
Okay, I gamble recreationally. I'm smart enough to set limits because I don't want to be that guy that turns into somebody that's tapping into his kid's education fund because he thinks there's a sure thing out there. And if you are that person, please get help. Okay. There's plenty of counseling places and things like that. I don't know any of these players personally to know what their habits are. What I do know is that we have seen gambling get promoted so much over the last handful of years.
The league sponsor is a betting website.
Exactly. You've got betting. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like, B-Win was on how many jerseys for so long, and now you got different, Bet365 and, some of these other sites. I know you've got, DraftKings, online sports book. You've got all of these, the access to it, is so easy compared to what it used to be. That I'm surprised it took this long for a sport or for a league to find itself in a scandal. That's kind of, so it's kind of, that's the thing that surprises me. I would have thought, well, you've got some of that going on with NFL players or NFL players that are serving suspensions, but they're not betting on themselves, or they're not betting against themselves or anything like that. 1xBet sponsors La Liga. Exactly, Eric. So, so that's the biggest surprise to me in all of this, is that it took this long for something to finally unfold and unravel. At least to what appears to be a pretty decent scale here. So all I can hope for is that Fagioli and Tonali and, if Zaniolo now comes down the line, that they get the appropriate help here. Pete Rose didn't.
There was no app back then.
There was no app back then.
That's what I was laughing at. Ali says it sounds like mostly Italians. Well, yeah, it's because an Italian, Mr. COVID, Fabrizio Corona, he's the one who mentioned this, and he was only going after the Italian players. And also, betting is illegal in Italy, I'm sure, and obviously many other places. The big argument, and one of the main ones that you're hearing out there is Carlo Garganese, where he's saying, like, look at what England's doing versus Italy, right? Italy is punishing their players, possibly ruin their lives. England, you guys got like Tony, and I forget, and Apex, some of these guys who are English supporters. There's Tony and a couple other names. The names are escaping me at the moment. They had way more severe betting, scandals brought against them, and they only got a few games. It wasn't much. They got small fines, nothing compared to what Fagioli got, right? And the big issue for me is not what Italy's doing. It's why isn't English punishing more, and more importantly, why isn't FIFA and UEFA making a set standard that everyone has to abide by, not just going by country? Because that would set a standard for everybody, so that everyone knows what they can and cannot do. And whether you go from Italy, like playing with Milan and Roma, and then going over to West Ham and Newcastle, the standards are the same in terms of what you can get in trouble for, what you can't. And obviously it goes into more legalities and all kinds of stuff like that. But I think in situations like this is where the bigger entity, FIFA and UEFA, need to get involved. And obviously we'd have to look more into all that and see how that all works and everything. I'm sure there's millions of complications, but it seems unfair that they're making it seem like apples and oranges when really something going really bad over here in England, even though it's been indoctrinated into their system for decades, and it's something new in Italy, it seems like, and they're exposing it right away. And it doesn't seem unfair for the Italian youngsters who are getting caught up in this. So something needs to get figured out. We'll see when all this shakes out who actually, is incriminated in all this. Is it just the three guys? Is it just two guys? We'll find out. Apex said that in England they're talking about Tonali's looking at a 10-month ban possibly. So we'll see.
Tony got 8 months.
Did he get 8 months?
Yeah.
But he had two. Well, there you go. Over 250 charges in 8 months, right? So that's a lot. And Fagioli didn't do nearly as that. Not even nearly as that. Trufalo was the other one. Yeah, that's right. Trufalo was the other guy. That's right. So yeah, it's like they had more severe things that they did and got less or equal to what Fagioli got, which, that seems unfair to me.
Yeah, but it also could be just at least the Italian governing bodies, just sports governing bodies, just trying to nip it in the bud right up front and trying to send a message to everybody else that wants
or want to cut
to be tempted by the idea. So, so it could be that going on.
And the other thing you can think about too is that maybe the mafia is tied up in this somehow, and so they really want to nip it in the bud. They don't want to get to extreme levels, versus just betting, right? Because I think in the Fagioli thing, it was mentioned that he owed money to the mafia because of his extreme betting, and so maybe that's part of it. I don't know, but it doesn't seem fair.
No, I think that it makes sense to your point that UEFA and even FIFA steps in and regulates this to an extent and maybe sets guidelines for appropriate punishment, because I think if you leave this up to the individual member associations, they're all going to interpret it differently, like we're seeing what's going on right now.
Yeah. And it is hypocrisy. To Ollie's point, it is hypocrisy that we have a betting website as our sponsor in Italy, and yet we're coming down so hard on them on that. Some of the worst things are you're hearing that Zaniolo and maybe Tonali bet on their own teams. Not necessarily like match fixing like Tony, but they kind of bet on their teams to win. Well, you can't do that. Pete Rose did that back in the day, and he's never made a Hall of Fame because of it. One of the best players you'll ever see, in baseball, he never is going to make the Hall of Fame because of he bet on his own team. So it's a whole mess. Yeah.
So, the most smoke is coming from Fagioli, Tonali, and Zaniolo. It sounds like there are. Some of the names that you named, did you mention El Shaarawy is vehemently denying?
Correct.
I think Zaniolo is denying it too.
Barella is denying it as well.
Yeah,
from what I heard.
Yep. So we'll see. This is going to be an ongoing thing. It's going to be very interesting to keep track of it and see if any of these names actually get steam as we go.
Yeah.
So, but I just hope that, whatever comes of it for any of them, that they're going to get the appropriate help. It sounds like Tonali is already doing counseling. Newcastle's working on it now. The one thing that I will want to point out on this is all of the conversation. Well, Milan had to know, and that's why they sold him. Newcastle approached Milan about Tonali. It wasn't the other way around. No. Milan didn't just wake up one morning and said, hey, we got our star midfielder gambles a lot and is probably going to get in trouble, and we know Newcastle has a lot of money. Let's go talk to him and see if they want to buy him.
Though part of me thinks how shrewd of a business company Redbird are. And that once Newcastle said that they were interested, they looked into their player Tonali and said, oh, shit, he's doing some betting. This could come back to bite us. Let's go ahead and get rid of him. I would not be surprised if that was the case. Not saying that to happen, but
it's possible that they knew something.
Business companies, they do their homework usually when they're going to a company. So that could be it. I'm not saying it is, but I wouldn't not be surprised that that was what Redbird did. But hey, it's apparently Newcastle's problem now.
Yeah, Newcastle called Milan about Tonali. Let's set the record straight. And Milan went and sold him. No, Newcastle called and said, yeah, we want Tonali and we're offering $65 million, and Milan's probably said we can't sign off on that fast enough here.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
So that's Reno thinks that Milan. I won't rule that out. I won't rule out that Milan might have known about it, but I don't know how that comes back to, because then you're now stepping into the space of, if Milan did their homework, they wouldn't have bought him from Brescia. Newcastle didn't do the background checks anyway, so it's on them. That's a good point, Apex.
Yeah.
If you investigate Milan over this sale, you're now starting to get into you're going to have to see if it's a plus Valenza thing that Juventus got themselves in trouble for.
Yeah. And you have to look at every transaction too from before that too. Everybody.
Yeah. And and it's hard to say that the club knew without evidence. Excellent point, Anthony. But I don't think Milan are going to get investigated over this.
I don't know.
Because I just don't see how they're going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
This may come back to bite me, but I seriously believe no Inter players are involved in this gambling BS, just like Inter was not involved in Calciopoli, right?
hopefully nobody else gets in.
They're the clean face of Italian football, aren't they?
Even COVID said.
Even COVID said that the clubs didn't know.
Yeah, Fabrizio Corona. We'll call him COVID.
Yeah,
it will now be called COVID.
So, anyway, so that's from one scandal to now another story, and just an unfortunate situation. And Papu Gomez, who lit up Serie A for many seasons with Atalanta, and now is getting the opportunity to come back and play for Monza, and now is banned for 2 years for sports doping. Now, what exactly did he take that got him into this?
He shared a bottle with Pogba. No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I want to say it was. I think I read something about a certain pill or something. No, he took his son's medication or something to that effect. I got to go back and read the article on it. It was just something preposterous when I saw it. I'm sure he'll get tested twice, kind of like Pogba did, but. Yeah, 2-year ban for performance enhancing. I mean, are you giving his kid steroids? I don't know what he's doing there, but I mean, the first question comes to everyone's mind was two. The first main one for Serie A fans is, see, we knew it. Atalanta were boosting all their players with the serum, right? That's why they were so good, scoring 100+ goals the 1 year. But the other camp is going to say, strip Argentina of the World Cup because he played on that team. Now, he wasn't a big factor on that team, but those are the two main camps that are coming out now saying, whatever it is. I mean, Papu Gomez, it was a feel-good story that he came back to Serie A, but what, 2 months in, not even 2 months in, he's already gone, and it's just Serie A can get out of their own way. Like, it is one thing after another, either player or team or something always happens, and it's all during the national break.
If it's cough syrup that's allowed him to perform like that all of these years, I want that, and I'm going to give it to my kids.
Give me the brand now.
I want it for my kids. Dad, I don't even have a cold. Take it anyway.
Yeah.
And get back out there.
Yeah.
Anthony's in the house. Anthony, thank you so much for holding it down a couple weeks ago while I was out on business doing my real job. So
we got more female viewers with Anthony. No, I'm just kidding.
You should. I don't attract any female viewers, and I shouldn't.
Neither do I.
So,
but yeah, back to Papu Gomez. I mean, this whole story with him, it's we'll see what comes out of it. I mean, we had Pogba recently, and now Papu Gomez. But if he does get this 2-year confirmed ban, eyes will turn toward Atalanta. It will. Whether he's gonna say it was with Sevilla or whatever. It's going to come back. And Serie A fans, we know how they are. We know how we are. It's going to come back to the Atalanta time. And see, they were too good to just be, but players came out of nowhere and they were killing everybody in goals. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not saying that's the case. That was a special team.
And you notice when they leave, they haven't been very good when they leave.
Look at Gosens today.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing that's certainly worth talking about. I mean, you tell me where Malinovsky was dynamite for Atalanta, and he hasn't been anywhere close to that since going to Marseille and now Genoa.
Yeah, Ilicic.
Exactly. It's not like Romero. Romero's been okay at Tottenham, but
I still didn't even think he was that good with Atalanta. But
fair, So.
But yeah, the questions will be asked whether it's fair or not. I think many people were already screaming it, and then now you get this first case of where someone was doping. Who else is doping, right? There are certainly the Argentina team is going to be looked at heavily, and as will the Atalanta team from several years ago. I'm sure Sevilla players will too. It's just the nature of the beast. But I have a feeling this is not the end of the story.
No.
I don't believe it's cough syrup for 1 minute. If it is, like you said, give me the brand, hook me up. I'm gonna hook my kids up too, and let's get some Messis in this world, right? But
exactly. They don't test the kids.
No,
so
not to college. Maybe high school.
Yeah. So, Romero is Argentinian. Check to see if his son drinks cough medicine.
There you go.
Or maybe Atalanta sold Romero because he refused to take it.
Yeah, there
So,
you go. There you go.
We'll see.
Gasparini special serum.
We'll see.
Cough syrup.
Just leave it to the chat to just kind of add fuel to all of this.
Love it. Love it.
Exactly. Well, let's get back on the pitch here and just quick run through, Richard. I'm going to quick run through this. The 10 games that took place over the weekend in Serie A started with Hellas Verona and Napoli. Eric, give me a high feed. Just is it Barney from The Simpsons? Oh,
Yeah.
just look at my veins. Cough syrup. You know, if that's what it was, and we got the brand, I'm buying stock in that shit right away.
Oh yeah,
because that shit's skyrocketing.
Fill my basement with that stuff.
Did this? Yeah.
Papu, call me.
There would be boxes. There would be boxes right over here. So
Messi made that shit too.
Insane. Yeah. Nah. Messi had legit hormone injections.
yeah. Leg extenders, whatever.
No, he's supposed to be the wholesome one out of him and Ronaldo. So, all right, on the pitch. Hellas Verona Napoli, 3-1 to Napoli, and Matteo Politano, goal of the week candidate. Very nice volley to put him up 1-0. Kvaratskhelia finally back among the goals. He's starting to score with more regularity, starting to be involved in goals. He had an assist today in the Champions League against Union Berlin. But his first goal against Verona is a goal of the week candidate. Brilliant 1v1, change of speed, putting it on his left and finishing. Second goal wasn't too bad either, but 3-0 there, and then Lazovic with a consolation for Hellas Verona. Inter at Torino, 3-0 there. Marcus Thuram scoring first, Lautaro Martinez scoring second, Çalhanoğlu sealing it off with a penalty. Lazio go and win 2-0 at Sassuolo. There's a seventh sister that knows how to beat Lazio. They actually do well against Lazio. Felipe Anderson, and then Luis Alberto. Sadi's opinion of Luis Alberto has to be a 180 by now. If it's not, he's crazy. I'm old enough to remember when Sadi didn't want to play Luis Alberto.
He is pure magic on the ball this season.
He has been outstanding.
He always been, but man.
I mean, he's in squad. He's pretty much locking up a place in Squadra Finora because he is carrying that Lazio.
He might be captain.
Yeah. Roma with a late win over Monza by 1-0. Stefan El Shaarawy on a volley, goal of the week candidate there. Bologna and Frosinone 2-1 to Bologna. Ferguson scoring. Di Silvestri launching a header from somewhere outside of Bologna.
Long range.
To make it 2-0. Sule with a consolation on a penalty for the losers. Salernitana 2-2. Cagliari, Luvumbo scoring first. Then it was Boulay Dia, and then it was Viola for Cagliari to make it 2-1. Dia getting a later penalty, making it 2-2 there. Atalanta beating Genoa by 2-0. Ademola Lookman scoring from sea level to give Ladea a 1-0 lead, and then it is closed out in the 95th minute by Ederson. Milan 0, Juve 1. The Malik Chow red card allowed Juve to play Allegri ball. A long-range effort from Locatelli deflected, goes in. Juve get the win and the 3 points away. Udinese on Monday, 1-1 with Lecce. Florian Tovan with a penalty. And then Diversa subs out Gallo. He subs out Udan. He subs out Sudafetsa. And he subs out Hristovic. And we're like, what the fuck are you doing? And I even said that on Twitter. And I said, this is your answer to trying to come back and get something out of this game. And here comes Sansoni and Piccoli, two of the substitutes.
He knows ball.
For the goal. This is why I'm over here and I'm not on a pitch managing a team.
Yes.
So 1-1 there. And then the Tuscan derby and a shocker to round out the games. Fiorentina 0, Empoli 2, Caputo, and then Jassi's goal, a goal of the week candidate. Yeah. So MilanJuventus was the headliner of this, Richard. And I mean, we're not really going into detail about this game for a reason, because there's really not a whole lot to go into detail about. Okay, Milan were kind of, they were controlling the game, they were controlling proceedings, and then Malik Chow gets the red card in a situation where there's really nothing else he could do there. He could have let them just go through and score. but and stayed on the pitch. But it Milan going a man down made it very easy for Juventus to play the way Allegri likes to have Juventus play, and then find a way to get that one goal, ride the game out, and get the 3 points. I mean, that's that game in a nutshell, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, and everyone wants to point to, and Ollie says, Milan messed it up for themselves with Tomori was pushing up too hard, left Thiago exposed. Sure. And yeah, the first thing with Thiago, right? Because everyone wants to say, throw the book at Thiago. He is the one to blame. Should he have been beat by Moise Kean? No, but he was. And so he had two options at that point. It's don't do anything, let him go. Don't foul him, let him go. And it's going to be a sure goal. It's going to be a sure goal. Kean against Mirante one-on-one. Or you pull him down as a red card and then give your chance. I say pulling him down for the red card was the correct play by Malik Chow because you pull him down, you get a red card, sure, but your team has a chance to play. Your team has a chance to be at 0-0. Juve go up 1-0 there. If Moise Kean goes in, walks in, and Mirante and scores a goal, 1-0, they're going playing Allegri ball. It's going to be hard to get back in the game. Milan had very little chances up to that point anyway. Juve were playing sublime defensively. We're not allowing Milan to do anything in the final third. And so it's going to be difficult all game long. This is what happens when you play Juventus in a big game. It's going to be difficult. Like we were talking pre-chat. When's the last time someone scored a worldy goal against Juventus? It's probably a long time, right? And so you got really good chances if you take that red card. And we saw Milan play for the next 20 minutes really well. They still looked the better team of the two teams, even with the man down. I thought they had probably created more opportunities when they had win a man down. Mm-hmm. I thought Yassine Adli was playing fantastic. For me, the game changed not at the red card. It changed in the 60th minute when you take off Adli, who I thought was playing one of the best players for Milan at the time, and brought in Krunic. And immediately the game changed. Juve started attacking more. They went after Krunic. Krunic was at fault for the goal because it deflected off of him. The game just changed drastically, I think, once Krunic was involved. And it wasn't so much a Thiago for me. It was when Krunic came in. So he was my flop of the match. And, obviously Pioli gets some fault for that. But I thought considering
Pioli can't help himself with Krunic, and that's the problem.
It's his baby. It's his baby, right?
Yeah.
And the thing for me is that going into this game, no Mike Magnon, no Teo Hernandez, no Chukwueze. There was a list of players that they didn't have at their disposal. If they got away with the draw in this game, it would have been a good result. It really would have. And so only to lose 1-0 off a deflected goal. Juve deserves all the credit for the win, right? They played Allegri ball masterfully. Did not allow Milan to get anything. They had one great chance early on where Leao fed to Giroud and Szczesny made a world-class save.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, Juve were smart. They blocked perfectly. Bremer, they made the adjustments. Leao was just destroying Gatti all game, and then they made the switch, brought Bremer over there and kind of really shut that down a little bit more. You got to give credit to Allegri more so than blaming Thiago on this. And for me, the game certainly changed when the Krunic play happened. But what are your thoughts on the game?
I think that the red card was I see it a little differently. I think the red card was detrimental. But again, we agree that Thiago had no choice. Armenian injuries is in the house. Good to see you. But it made it easy for Allegri to carry out his tactics. I read a lot of the Pioli out fan base, the Pioli out faction of Milan Twitter, talking about this is on Pioli. The team just isn't creating enough quality chances. Let me let you in on a little secret about Juventus. They don't let anybody have quality chances. They just don't hand them out. Okay? You have to grind for your goals against Juventus. Go and look at the standings. They are the best defense in the league again. They've only conceded 6 goals through 9 games. And you have to really, if you're going to score against Juventus, the way they're set up right now and the way Allegri has them playing, and with Serie A being their main focus, and the way Allegri likes to set his teams up, you are going to have to really grind out your chances against them to beat them. They're not going to give it to you. Okay? They're not like some of these teams that are a lot leakier defensively. It can be said, like a Hellas Verona, even like a Genoa or even a Torino, who the Milan beat 4-1. Juve had 0 shots on goal before the deflected goal. I think.
Yeah, Milan were still playing good with 10 men down. They were still playing good.
Yeah, they were. But is there a chance that they had with the 10 men that made you think, wow? Yeah, I mean, they created, sure. Yeah. But, this whole theory of, well, they're not creating enough quality chances against Juventus. They're not. Nobody creates a lot of quality chances against Juventus. And I think it makes you go back and marvel at what Spalletti did with Napoli back in January when they beat them, 5-1?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't happen against an Allegri coach team very often.
No.
And that was kind of at the end of Juventus having their problems when they really started to straighten things out defensively.
Yeah.
Go ahead. It sounds like you were going to say something.
No, it's fair for those who say, like, hey, if that red card didn't happen, Pulisic would stay in the game, and so on and so forth. And I get that. And I totally get that. Believe me, I'd rather play 11-11 versus 10 versus 11. But I think Milan still played well. Probably looked like the better team still at 10 versus 11. A lot of people. I think the bigger question is, a lot of people said, why'd you take out Pulisic versus Giroud? And I understand it, right? I mean, yeah, you play on the counterattack, but Giroud gives you that. And I think Bonetti even said it on the live telecast. We're like, but Giroud gives you a presence in the air. He does. He can hold up the ball too. Leao can take on the whole team if he wanted to. He's got that pace, right? Musa, I thought, had a really good game, and he was contributing a lot. Pulisic was quiet, but still, you'd rather have him on the pitch than not on the pitch. What's Pioli going to do? He's not going to take out a midfielder. He's not going to take out Leao. And I understand why Giroud was in there. I do. I really do. So it's a tough call. It's a tough call to make.
When you're down to 10 men, you have to have that higher reference point to be able to play through. Yep. The only time you want to, and Pioli did this, and I can't remember the game that he did this in, but he went with, it was something like where it was like just Leao and Chukwueze up front, or Okafor and Chukwueze up front, or something like that.
Yep.
I can't remember the game and I can't remember the game that it was, where it's just like, okay, when you have a 1-goal lead, then you might go with a couple of pacier guys that you might hit directly into space and let them go chase it and exploit them in 1v1s. It was the Roma game. I remember that because Tomori got sent off, and that's what he decided to do. And he looked at and this was at a time where Roma defensively, in particular Mancini, and then I think Llorente, were very poor in 1v1 situations defensively. So, but when you're a man down in an even match and you've got 8 guys have to sit back and they have to absorb, or maybe even 7 guys, because all this talk about layout doesn't really come back and help defend now. And Saki is having a beef about that. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah. You need a target to get it out to that can hold, that can absorb, that can have that ball at his feet long enough for everybody to come out and help you keep it. Okay. You take that out and you try to rely, then your game gets really predictable. I mean, it's predictable to an extent when you're playing directly to a forward.
Yeah.
But if I'm a man down, I prefer a stronger target up front that we've got to work the ball out to, so that we can get our team out and build an attack.
Now let's give credit to where credit's due, because I think, just because you go up a man doesn't necessarily mean you're going to start dominating the game, winning the game. What we saw was a big change from Juve, where they did start pressing more. They did start attacking more. They did have a lot more possession. Then they started bringing on the big dogs, right? Vlahovic came in. Chiesa came in. They started smelling blood and tried to go for the kill, which they rightly should have. And, because of their incessant pressing, they finally get the first shot off. It doesn't matter. I mean, I always make this quote about Gretzky. You don't score goals if you don't take a shot. And Locatelli took a shot. It deflected off Krunic and goes in the back of the net. No one is going to save that off that deflection. So Juve did what they had to do to get the win. And once it's 1-0, they kind of just cleaned up the game and made sure no other chances were created. It really was Allegri ball after that fact. And it does help when you're up a man. But you do got to give Juve some credit ultimately with getting the result. Cards fell in their favor, sure, with the red card, right? Totally correct call on Malik Chow.
Yeah.
But you got to still play the game and get the result, and Juve did.
Yep. Agreed. And it makes Juve a Scudetto contender all of a sudden.
I disagree.
But
Please go.
Right now, as it pertains to the table.
No. Yeah. I got you.
I like Roma's squad better than Juventus' still. And that's why I picked Roma to finish fourth over Juventus, with Milan, Inter, Napoli taking up the top three spots. I think I have Inter, Milan, Napoli taking up the top three spots. Okay. And you're starting to see, okay, Roma have now won 3 on the bounce. They've moved up to 7th. They've 3 opponents that they should beat and take care of business, but nonetheless they've beaten them. Whose roster would you prefer? I prefer Roma's over Juventus's, personally.
I would agree with you. I mean, obviously, Juve have the better goalkeeper. Defense, it's a wash. I mean, I think Roma ultimately has a better team. Chiesa and Vlahovic are probably the difference makers between the two teams. But I think ultimately Roma has a more complete team, especially Pellegrini, probably the best midfielder out of both teams there. But I disagree, not because your comment about Juve now being Scudetto favorites. I didn't
say they were Scudetto favorites. I said they're a contender.
Contenders. I think they've always been contenders.
Yeah.
And I think Roma are also in the mix as well. I did pick Juve to be, 5th place or something like that, but I still think when they're playing their game, this team is certainly capable of being, with no other European distractions, like the rest of the top 7. They can focus on one game a week, and this is a team with Allegri. Allegri knows how to get points and wins, and Vlahovic and Chiesa getting back to form. This is a team that can contend. They're going to be in the mix. I don't know if they're going to be favorites, but they've been in the mix for me for a while, despite my 5th place prediction.
4 straight games without conceding for Juventus after they let Sassuolo ship 4 on them.
Yeah.
But I still stand by my take that, and I remember those Sassuolo grinded for those 4 goals. Milan will not make top. I think Milan is one of the 4 best teams in this league.
I think what this game showed you, outside of the win for Juventus, before the red card, Milan were the better team with their B team.
Yep.
And that's not to take anything away from Juventus. I think Juventus is a good team. I just think Milan team is that good.
Yeah.
They're maybe just below Inter, probably on level with Napoli. But this is a good team. I certainly think they make the top 4. And I agree with Armenian Interista that Napoli is certainly in the Scudetto hunt. They're not having the season they had last year, but they're certainly in the mix. They have to be in the mix. Of course, they're in the mix. They got a great team. Yep. Managers, but it's a great team.
Yep. Milan have, and I thought I saw somebody comment about this. All right, they've had to deal with Juve, Roma, Lazio, Inter. They're going to get Napoli this week. They're fine. Milan is a top 4 team this year. Okay. They're 5th, and they got into the Champions League because of the punishments against Juventus. But Inter's clearly a top 4 team. Napoli, I think, works their way back into this. I'm still taking. What's that?
I think Inter's the best team.
Inter's the best team in this league. I 100% agree with that. I still stand by Roma for 4th. And what I'm starting to see with them, it's these games where you should win. Things don't go all the way to plan throughout the course of a game, but you still find a way to grind it out and win 1-0, which is what Roma did here against Monza. Monza, they got the red card, and you think, okay, cinch, should be clear. Milan after Napoli have just Fiorentina and Atalanta among their games in the first half. Inter has 14 top 14 players are class. I'm starting to see some of the comments here.
Yeah.
But let me come back to Roma. Okay. This is a mark of a very good team that is still coming together because of a lot of new arrivals. You're talking about Lukaku and Alwar and Renato Sanchez, and you're blending that in with guys who have been there like Dybala and Pellegrini. You're figuring out some of the defenders. Let's go. I look at this Roma team, and I'm starting to see exactly what I said when they had that disastrous start, and everybody was laughing at me for saying Roma's going to be fine. But here we are, and they're 3 points out of the top 4.
Yep.
Thoughts on Roma?
Yeah, no, I think this is a team, if they can get back to the level that they were at last year, especially with that run in Europa League, this is a team that's very good. And this we said this during the prediction show, is that this top 7, the 7 sisters this year, it's going to be a dogfight for the whole season. There's so many teams that you could say that are in the mix. I mean, Atalanta, they only got one. Oh, they are in Europa League, but they're still a good squad. They figured how to play defensive ball and attack, score goals. Roma, I like this Roma team a lot. I think Pellegrini is going to get to this new level this year and really be the general of that team. Not that he isn't already, but I think hopefully a Dybala that's healthy and Lukaku in the mix, this team is going to score goals. They struggled for a while, and they haven't been able to finish it. With Tammy Abraham in the past and stuff like that. And Belotti's now found the kind of a new invigoration now this season. This Roma team's legit, and once they get a full head of steam going, if Mourinho can keep his mouth shut and not get those red cards, I think they'll be fine. I do. I think they're in the mix. It's just going to be a tough league, and Roma is certainly in the mix for a top 4.
Yep. I'll still stand by it. I think they've overcome some things and they're on their way. Yeah. Atalanta. Are they still inhibited? Because I see them beating the teams that I think sitting in 6th right now for them is fool's gold. Because they're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. Okay, they've had a fairly breezy schedule. Out of the so-called 7 sisters, they've been at Fiorentina, lost. Juventus, draw. Lazio, lost. 1 point. I think it's the failure to take significant points from the better teams that are going to keep them out of this. It looks great now. And they probably will grab a European place, but I can't see him finishing top 4 for the very reason that they're going to continue to struggle to get it done against the better teams in this league.
Yeah, and we saw this a few years ago with really both Roman clubs where Roma and Lazio beat everybody in the league, but when it came to 7 sisters, they struggled, and the reason they both missed the top 4. Same thing here. If Atalanta, to make the top 4, you're going to have to beat some of the 7 sisters. You don't have to beat them all, but you have to beat some of them. At present, 1 point out of 3 games is not going to cut it. With some arguably bigger games still ahead for Atalanta, and so they're going to have to show up in these games if they want to make the top 4. Is the squad capable of? Yes. They've found a way to marry the defensive ball with the attacking play. And obviously with Scamacca, there's again the goals. Lookman starting to get goals again. It's all good signs for Atalanta, and obviously with CDK there. But you have to beat the teams that are on your level, who are direct competitors. And if you can't, don't even bother thinking about the top 4. So until they get their shit straight with the 7 sisters, they're gonna be resigned to this Europa League obscurity until they can figure it out. Because that's, for me, if you're going to be in the top 4, you have to take care of business, like you said. Don't have to beat everybody, but you got to win several games in the 7 sisters, and they haven't done it yet. They can play spoiler. I agree.
Is Bologna's 8-match unbeaten run the quietest 8-match unbeaten run you've ever seen?
Outside of this podcast, yes. Yes, it is, and it's because there's so many things going on in and out of the league, in and on and off the pitch. But I mean, what Thiago Motta is doing over there is quietly, it's just wonderful to see. I mean, he's got all his pieces playing super, super well. Created a lot of good chances in the game against Frosinone. Not that Frosinone has been bad this season; they've been actually pretty decent. The the way that this Mota's got them playing defensively and offensively, it's been really a treat to see. They get the nice crossing plays. They found this this striker who can just dish off the ball. He's big enough. He's not getting the goals yet, but you still have that guy like Orsolini out there who can get his goals. I mean, you got some nice pieces on this team, and so Bologna, man, it's chugging along. They're just picking up points left and right. I didn't like what they did against Frosinone, where they get the 2-goal lead and then kind of sat back and allowed Frosinone back in the game. Right, He's going to have to teach his team to have that killer instinct to keep going, shut the game out at 2-0, not allow the team to go back in. But overall, I think nothing but kudos for Bologna, and Thiago Motta continues to impress. He really does.
And I think we've raved about Xerxes in the past here so far, and his role as a forward in this team, and how things seem to run through him. Orsolini's playmaking is starting to be more evident. I think that having a guy like Remo Freuler with the loads of Serie A experience, I mean, what a masterstroke getting a guy like him after you lost Dominguez, has also been a huge help. And you got some veteran players, some guys that have been around the block in this league. Skorupski as a goalkeeper, Di Silvestri as a defender, some guys that, have been through it, including Freuler. So this is a strong squad. I picked them ahead of Fiorentina in my final predictions.
Yeah.
And I stand by it because right now I trust the solidity that I'm seeing out of Bologna. And I just think Fiorentina. I think there's a flakiness here to Fiorentina, even though Fiorentina is currently in fifth. I mean, this loss to Empoli.
Yeah,
this is catastrophic. I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it because this is the same Fiorentina that won at Napoli 3-1 before the international break. But this is if you're trying to get to the next level, if you're trying to take the next step as a club, you better beat the little provincial teams in your backyard.
Yep. Yeah. And you're gonna say with Fiorentina, it's a derby, it's always gonna be tight, but this is a derby they've dominated recently, right? And you look at the paper and it's miles apart, these two teams. How they should be performing, and what you saw is Empoli, they kept playing. I mean, freaking Caputo had a goal taken away where yes, it was a handball. It looked like a great diving header, but it was off his arm. But Empoli came to play. They did, and it didn't seem like the passion was there for Fiorentina like it was for Empoli. It's for a game like a derby, you shouldn't have to get your players up for a derby, and if you do, that's worrisome. I think we saw that obviously in the Milan game with Inter, but also here with Fiorentina. And so we'll see what they're made of. They have these moments where you're just like, what the heck, right? Yeah, they lost to Inter 4-0, but they had some other head-scratching results. You're like, this is not the team that I'm accustomed to, but they got so much talent. And I think, I know they're going to get out of it. It just, will it affect their position in the table? And to your point about picking Bologna higher than them, it very well could. We got a team that's playing very steady ball, not bringing attention to themselves, getting results, and then Atalanta, Fiorentina, up and down sometimes, right? They get a lot of wins, but they get these losses, and you're like, wait, what are you doing? What's going on here? It's we'll see how this plays out, but maybe the extending themselves to different competition is not going to be as easy this year as it was last year.
Yep. Sotil has been sacked at Udinese. Paulo Sousa was sacked over the international break at Salernitana.
Yep.
Is Ivan Juric at Torino next?
It's tight. I mean, you look at the table and it's not exactly where they want to be. They're not playing the greatest of ball at the moment. But it's got to be a thing, right? I think I hate to say it, but I think EDF is safe at the moment, despite Frosinone where they are on the table. They're playing above expectations. It very well could be that he is the next manager to go, and it's shocking to believe because he got this team at least to this point. Juric has where they're playing sound defensively they're a pain in the ass for anybody that plays against them, but they're not getting results. And they're currently sitting in 14th place. That's not where they want to be. They want to be 8th, 9th, 10th position. And yeah, I got to think that he's probably the next manager to go, because you look at Empoli, Andrea Zoli, that he's doing, actually he got a win in the derby. That's going to help him right there, right? Hellas is out of the relegation zone. I think Ranieri could be a next one there, but I would think
Bologna at Hellas Verona, I think, would be the other one that's in trouble too.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see at least 2 or 3 more sackings.
Yeah.
Possibly even before Christmas. 5 managers.
Yeah.
Up to 5 managers possibly not having Panettone.
Oh, Panettone. It's going to be a lot more managers. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. No Panettone.
That's something we're going to need to keep an eye on. Yeah. Souza's out.
Panettone watch.
Out. Yep. Chelsea is back at Udinese. We've got 3 down right now. So at least 2 more could go.
I think that's doable.
Yeah, it's very possible. So we're going to have to keep an eye on it. Andrea Azzoli coming back to Empoli, I think it's just the right fit. I mean, with what Empoli have personnel-wise, it's a really, really good fit for the way Andrea Azzoli likes to have his teams play.
And don't discount Rudy Garcia, because we already heard ADL said on the record about his manager not knowing how to manage in Italian football. So
yeah,
unless Napoli start running off these amazing results back to back to back, he's another guy who ADL could be like, peace, because I fully expect him to be gone before the end of the season.
Yep. Pippo Inzaghi
got his result.
Is Pippo at Salernitana?
He is.
How did I miss that?
I don't know. He took over the job for obviously Souza, and because everyone's already looking at, hey, let's look at Salernitana Inter for the for the Inzaghi derby there. So got his first stint there. We'll see how he does with them. But the first thing he did was insert Buladia in the starting lineup, smartly so. That's probably why Souza got fired. And they look decent today.
Yep.
Or this weekend.
I would agree. So, our next guys we're keeping an eye on for the sack are going to probably be, to your point, Ivan Juric, Marco Baroni, and Claudio Ranieri. But I would also, let's just for shits and giggles throw Gilardino in the mix, but I think overall he's going to be fine.
I agree.
So, goals of the week?
I don't really have goals of the week. I think my two favorites from this weekend were, I'm going to go to the Tuscan Derby, Empoli. Cambiaghi, beautiful backheel to Fazzini. Fazzini finds Giassi with a low cross, backdoor. Wonderful goal there. And I'm going to stick with the small clubs. I'm going Lecce with my goal from Sansone. Beautiful assist to Roberto Piccoli with a goal, game-tying goal there in that game. So, those are my 2 best goals for me.
Yep. We had quantity over quality in terms of the goals this week, to be sure. Nothing that's going to threaten the goal of the season. Chase.
Yes, Eric.
Di Francesco and D'Aversa are still have jobs, and Souza, Sotil, and Zanetti are all out. I wonder what the odds would have been on that.
Yeah.
I'm sure Tonali bet it.
Bazinga.
Yeah. Let's see. Man, it's just, this is like trying to see what for as far as goals. I mean, goals are fun and all that other stuff, and I shouldn't like call them all crap, but
betting's where it's at? No, that's not where you're going.
What's that?
I said, but betting's where it's at. I was like, oh, that's not where you're going.
No. I'm just going to pick one goal as my goal of the week, and I'm going to go with Di Silvestri's goal for Bologna, the header from just outside the penalty area.
I thought you were going to Locatelli.
No, not necessarily. I mean, if I'm going to pick, I'll throw another one in there. I like Kvaratskhelia first goal. I just liked the cleverness of trying to look for the cross, and then all of a sudden just changing speed and going to the left and finishing there. So, I mean, that just shows you. I'll be curious to see when Paramount Plus shows their top 5 what they come up with, because usually we're almost in lockstep with what they release. When they do theirs. So, but that's neither here nor there. Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on to Europe. Key wins for our Serie A teams today. Inter winning over Salzburg 2-1 to now top their group, Group D. And then Napoli going on the road and winning at Union Berlin by 1-0. Raspadori on an assist from Kvaratskhelia. Inter, by the way, Alexis Sanchez scoring and then a Çalhanoğlu penalty, getting it done there. Oscar Glauc scoring for Salzburg. So I don't think Inter were in any grave danger here, but I mean the fact that Salzburg were able to make it 1-1 certainly created some concern and certainly some scare here. But they get back up. There was a foul and a penalty. Çalhanoğlu puts that away. But ultimately, Inter, they're not top of their group. They're on goal difference. It's Real Sociedad up on that. But Inter are second on 7 points. 4 points clear of Salzburg and can go to Austria on match day 4 and immediately lock up their place in the round of 16. Thoughts on Inter?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it wasn't necessarily pretty ball. They got obviously nice goal from Alexis, and then Çalhanoğlu with the penalty, but they got the result. I think that's the most important thing in this situation, because Inter of old would have found a way to claw and scratch and wait till the last match day to kind of get a result and get out of the group. Now they potentially they put themselves in a position where get a win and you're in with 2 match days to spare, and that's unreal to think. Yeah, you can win the group too still, but hey, more important things to qualify outright. And I think outright qualify with 2 games remaining. That just less they have to focus on that. Can focus back on Serie A until the draws for round of 16 come. And so I think Inter in a really great position at the moment. So good for them to get a result against a tricky Salzburg team. It's not like this team is a team you can walk over, and they certainly handle them fairly well.
Yeah, I mean, Salzburg are certainly going to be the underdog of this group. Although Benfica have been just woeful so far through 3 games. But there's still enough there to put up a fight with the way they play and the way and kind of what's their DNA when they actually play. They've got players that you don't really necessarily think the world of, but they go out and they get it done, and then they end up going to bigger clubs. I mean, gosh, this is just go ahead and look back at what this club has produced through the years. I mean, it starts with Erling Haaland, but then you go to, what? Why are you laughing?
I thought you were talking about Inter for a second. I thought you were going to be like,
I'm talking about Salzburg.
Okay, I know. I get it now. When you said Haaland, it clicked in my head.
Yeah. And then, Noah Okafor now, who's with Milan, and Adeyemi at Borussia Dortmund, the players that have gone through that team and are now finding relative success. Okafor has gotten himself a couple of goals at Milan. He's not getting a lot of playing time, but these guys go on and they're headed to other clubs and they're making an impact there. So RB Salzburg does a good job of finding players that can give you trouble, even though they maybe not be as strong as they've been, in the past few years. It's still a tough test. It's not like you're going to walk over them when you play them. So, go ahead and get the result, get the 3 points, and move on. And what do we say? It's not style points; it's 3 points that matter. In this business. So, speaking of it's not style points, it's 3 points. Napoli getting it done against Union Berlin, 1-0. Bonucci was not selected. Didn't get to come on as a substitute. And Ipes is going to have supposed to have a conversation tomorrow with Urs Fischer as to why. If I'm Urs Fischer, I said it's because you suck.
Newsflash, you suck.
Yeah, it's because you can't defend, and we're playing Napoli, and I'm not throwing you out there against them.
The only place to sell jerseys is North Dakota. That's what
South Dakota.
South Dakota. Sorry.
Get it right.
Sorry, North Dakota.
Get it right.
Apologize.
For the rare times that the Dakotas are ever mentioned in a podcast, you should make sure you have it right.
Damn.
So Raspadori scoring, played in by Kvaratskhelia. Napoli had more. We watched this game. Napoli had more of the ball. Yeah. The chances there wasn't a whole wow factor to their chances. You know what you were getting when you were playing against Union with Trimmel back in the picture. He's crossed the ball 6 times before he even gets off the bus. But then he's also capable of he got a yellow card in the first half, and I was like saying, he's going to do a whole bunch of crosses, but he's also going to get booked because he's not a great defender, and he's got to deal with Kvaratskhelia. And I think that's who he fouled to get the yellow card.
Yeah.
So Nocha was back, and he brings a little bit of solidity. He's been a long-time leader for that team. And then you've got Becker and Fofana up front, who can be a nuisance.
Yeah. Charles
You know,
Becker's a good player. Fofana was also excellent too.
yeah, so it was not. It's one that Napoli definitely had to navigate through and kind of walking on eggshells to get the result. It's not the Union Berlin, even though they've been on this lengthy losing streak. The pieces now look a little bit better with that team than where they had been. So an important win for the Partenope, and now on 6 points. And they win. Braga has to go to the Bernabeu. Could be pretty cut and dry that Napoli, have gotten themselves the breathing room that they need.
Yeah, and this is a difficult game. It was at Berlin. Granted, it was at the Olympiastadion instead of the Alter Forsterai. But you see how daunting the fans were there, and it was always going to be difficult. Yes, Union Berlin are on now a 9-game losing streak, but it's not like they've been blown out all these games. They've lost late games all the time, and so you knew that the game was going to be difficult. Kawada was getting his opportunities early, but they were finding ways to kind of shade over there. Napoli were lucky in the fact that Fofana made this great run. I forget, before obviously the Napoli goal, makes a great run, crosses it in, and I think Becker scored, or I forget who scored there for Union Berlin, and it's like, damn, they caught Napoli, and luckily for them, Fofana was offsides. They did well to get their goal. I think the big piece for Union was Rani Kadira coming back. He really solidified him with Trimmel. Both really solidified the defense. So you knew it was going to be difficult for Napoli. Yeah, they're going to have all the possession in the world because they're really good at ball possession, but Union didn't allow them to create too many opportunities, even with Frederick Renov in goal. But they kept at it. I like this Kajusta kid. He's doesn't have a flair for the goal scoring because over the weekend and in this game had some great opportunities and didn't do a good job of shooting on target. However, they kept going at it, right? And I think it's so good to see Mario Rui back in the lineup for the last 2 games. He seems to be a difference maker. Not that Oliveira is a bad player, but it's something about Rui on that starting lineup that team seems to to do well. And Di Lorenzo looked better than he did previously. Natana was all over the place. He made a great tackle late in the game, and he was all fired up at the Union Berlin bench. Good result. And I think also the shows is that it's a different element. It's a different beast with Raspadori in the lineup, right? Obviously, with Osimhen, world-class striker, he's going to be everywhere. But Raspadori, he's shifty. He can go all around. Set pieces are better with Raspadori because he's such a good free kick taker. And so it's a different element. He can distribute the ball so well. Politano has been playing so well lately under Rudy Garcia. And so this team is still very good. And now that they're in a really good position, like you said, with Braga going to the Bernabeu and a little bit of breathing room and get your results here and get a result against Real Madrid and move on. I think it's Rudy Garcia looks more comfortable on the European stage than he does in the league.
Yep. So it's an important win there for Napoli. Now they get them at the Maradona in a couple of weeks' time, and you got to expect that they'll take care of business there. But just a little side of caution there with them that that it's an Union Berlin that is okay. They're still losing, but they're starting to get their feet a little bit here. So we'll see what kind of team they are when we resume acquaintances here in a couple of weeks. Let's move on to Wednesday's. Let's preview Wednesday's games, and let's start with Feyenoord and Lazio. Richard, Feyenoord's third in the Eredivisie right now. They've been on a torrid winning run through 9 games in the Eredivisie. They've scored 32 goals, only conceded 6. So in a league that's known for scoring, they're not letting anybody score. Coming off a 4-0 win over Vitesse, they had beaten Svola 2-0 away at the break. They're coming off of losing to Atletico Madrid 3-2, so they're capable of scoring. When you look at them as a team, when you look at the players, everything runs through Stings. We know of Alireza Jahanbakhsh. Paixão is another player. Hartmann as a left back, capable of getting forward and causing some problems. If there's some fortune here for Lazio, Santi Jimenez is doubtful for the game, as is Ivanušec, the Croatian international. Those are a couple of key guys. But this is a Feyenoord team. And these two, Lazio and Feyenoord, saw each other a bit. I think didn't they see each other in the Europa League and group stage last year? And there were plenty of goals there. And if Lazio's not careful, this could get away from them pretty quickly playing in Rotterdam. What do you think? How do you size up Lazio's chances going to Holland tomorrow?
Well, first, an Eredivisie fact. You mentioned Feyenoord is currently third in the Eredivisie table. Do you know who is third from the bottom currently in the Eredivisie?
Ajax.
Relegation zone right now. Wow.
Crazy.
Anyway, that is crazy. Feyenoord is a dangerous beast. They can score goals. They got, it's young players who play really well. Lazio have to be up for this game. It's if they get the result, they need to get these results to move on, obviously, and I think they're more than capable. But they cannot take this game lightly. Sarri has to have his best lineup in here, some amalgamation of it. Luis Alberto's got to play from the start. I mean, you even got to have probably Pedro in there as well. Zaccagni, the whole gang. It's going to be a difficult game against Feyenoord. They're going to find ways to try to counterattack you. They have really good pace in this team. It's about all these Dutch teams. They're always so fast. Them and the Portuguese. What they lack in maybe star power, they have in pure pace that they can beat you, right? And we talked about those in Braga with against Napoli. But Lazio, I think you're going to have to limit the chances against them. Obviously, Provedel seemed more human as of late, if that's fair. And I think the Napoli defense are going to really have to discipline themselves, give the back four some help. Like I said, the midfield's going to have to control that game, and then get it to your attackers who have the skill set, and let Luis Alberto do his thing. I think how they approach this game is going to be whether they win or lose. If they take this game seriously, it's a serious team as in Feyenoord, they'll be okay. They can get a result, especially on the road. But if they come out here thinking, "Oh, we're Lazio, we're better than them," they're going to lose. They're going to probably lose big, probably 3-1 if they do that. So I'm going to say hopeful and say 2-2. I'll say 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Hopeful.
I'm with you. I think it's I'm going to pick Feyenoord to win.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be an entertaining game. I'm going 3-2. I believe there'll be goals in this game. The only thing that would keep me from making a prediction like that is that the striker that's going to probably start for Fiorentina, Ueda, is not particularly experienced in these particular situations. But sometimes that can be a good thing, when you don't know what you're getting into.
Yep.
So we'll see. PSG Milan, this is the one that everybody's talking about. A lot of Milan fans sticking their chest out, having a lot of confidence. Let me warn you, PSG has scored 10 in their last 4 in Liga, 3 wins, 1 draw. And in that draw, Maury Diaw for Clermont Foot was a modern-day Gigi Buffon. 10 saves. So 10 on target for PSG, and they didn't score. So believe me, it's not like they just kind of, struggled. They only struggled to score. They did everything else right. So they're a team that are starting to hit their stride under Luis Enrique. This isn't, a few weeks ago after what happened at Newcastle, I would have probably agreed with most of the Milan fan base and said, yeah, I'm not worried about this at all. Look at how they performed against Newcastle, but they have really straightened it out at home. If they can carry that now over to the Champions League, that could spell problems. The one thing that helps Milan here is that Teo is rested, and a Teo that can play 90 minutes on rest is a very dangerous Teo. So you've got that to counter with. I think Leao's a problem. I think the combination of him and Leao can put some pressure on Hakimi on that right-hand side. You've now got Pulisic on the right, which can help balance things out. Can they get things through the midfield? PSG has some guys up, but not their main guys. I agree. And Anthony made mention of you could get the occasional Donnarumma blunder. What I'm concerned about is what PSG do up front. Yeah. Is it Ramos as a striker with Mbappe off to the left? I've seen it where it's Mbappe and Colomwani up front together. I've seen a variation. Dembele figures into this mix. Vitinha. This is still a dangerous team that is starting to figure it out under Luis Enrique. I'm more concerned than most Milan fans seem to be.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, this game has so many storylines, right? It's Donnarumma, it's Mbappe, who's a Milan fan, it's Magnon coming back to a PSG, right? It's Theo Hernandez brothers, right? It's so many different storylines in this. It's gonna be a difficult game. It's obviously you're gonna have a top-notch Magnon, and the back four is really gonna play. Obviously, I would imagine Thiago doesn't get a start in this one. Tomori has to continue his brilliant play as of late, and maybe I'd like to see Kalulu personally in the back center back pairing, but Kiar is probably going to get the start, and Calabria is going to have to play well. I mean, this whole team is going to have to play well. You're going to have to do the job defensively. You probably going to see Krunic start in this one.
I think he has to.
Right.
I don't think I've seen enough from Adli defensively to feel really good about him in a game like this. So.
No, I agree, and I think Reinders. I mean, the whole team. It's going to have to be a top level performance by everybody in this team. Defensively, you know what the talent they have, right? And Mbappe is obviously leading target there, but they got so many good talented players on the offensive side. Stop that first and foremost, and then go on the counter attack, and that's where try to take advantage of the guy like Hakimi. Make him defend. Make a defend. He's up in the attack. That's going to be a problem for me. We saw what he's done over the years when he was at Inter in that wonderful year that they won the Scudetto. Under Conte, and so it's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be a true battle. Like I agree with you. A couple weeks ago, after that Newcastle game, I would say, yeah, I'm not really worried, but they found their way. They really have, and it's gonna be a top-notch battle in Paris. Parc des Princes is gonna be bumping there, and so a score draw, I think, would be a good result in this game, honestly. Whereas a couple months ago, I probably would have said a win would be the more likely scoreline.
Score draw is a good result. I just not sure they're going to get it. I'm leaning PSG 2-1, and
not a bad shot. Yeah,
I hope I'm wrong. I really do, but I don't feel terribly confident. I mean, teams that counter well do pretty well here against PSG. We'll see, and then. But when you factor everything, I think Milan will score. I just wonder if PSG are able to find ways. This is going to be a hell of a game. That's for sure.
It is. And the crowd's going to be raucous. I can't wait for the return leg too. But it's going to be goals. We'll see who wins, if anyone.
All right. Let's get into the Europa League. We got Roma getting ready to take on Slavia Prague at the Olimpico. Atalanta are going to travel to Sturm Graz. Roma and Slavia Prague are both on 6 points in their group, and it's Servette and Sheriff are on 0. So they've won both of their games. Slavia Prague have a history of making opponents' life hell in European competition. Some of the guys that you're probably, if you're a Roma fan, that you're going to want to concern yourself with, Momir Chaitel. I think is it Chaitel or Cheadle, the striker for Slavia Prague, who's their leading scorer. You've got Lucas Masopoulos, who's listed as a defender, plays in midfield as well, has a lot of experience. Holish is in there, so they've got some guys that have been performing relatively well. If you look in their, if I look at them in their league, you also have Václav Jurečka. He's another forward that could factor into this situation. Matej Jurasek is a good player, is a decent player. These are the names that you're going to probably hear as the game goes on. If you're a Roma fan that you want to concern yourself with. So having said all of that, I don't think if Mourinho wants to really chase this thing and get after it, he's gonna be able to pick his lineup and I'm not going to sit here and say that Roma are going to pick their score, but I think that this is a game that Roma should win 2-0. I'm just illustrating the players that are going to give Roma some problems along the way. But it's going to be your typical Mourinho performance, typical labored performance. I don't think Roma blow away Slavia Prague here, even though the game is at the Olimpico. 2-0 feels right to me.
Yeah, this game's interesting for me. I want to say Roma win 2-0, but I just have this feeling that they'll find a way to do some stupid goal against, and it'll be 2-1. But I do feel they're going to win this game, and take a good control of this group. This team is more than capable of, and I think a good result against a good Monza club over the weekend was a good boost for them. Mourinho's certainly going to be fired up and he's going to have his team ready. I think it's just what does the starting lineup look like, right? And can they keep the guys healthy? But
Right.
I'm confident in Roma and getting a 3 points in this one.
Yep. Sturm Graz and Atalanta. Okay, so as far as Sturm are concerned, okay, Atalanta lead this group. They're on 6 points. They've scored 4, conceded 1. Sturm have a win and a defeat. I believe they lost to Sporting Lisbon.
I think so.
Yeah. But if they beat Rakov, and then they lost 2-1 to Sporting. So they're capable. Storm are capable of giving you trouble. William Boving is going to be the guy that jumps out because he has scored a couple of goals in this group. But as far as it pertains to the Austria Bundesliga, Shimon Vlodarczyk is the leading scorer. Another striker. Vutric is a defender that can come forward and score, but he also has some playmaking capability. So they've got a good, they've got a decent mix of guys that can give you some trouble. Those would be the names that I would probably concern myself with if you're thinking about Sturm and if you're an Atalanta fan trying to get focused on the game. I legitimately think Atalanta win the game. But another one that's going to be narrow. I don't think it's a runaway kind of thing here, Richard. Atalanta will go to Austria. They'll take care of business, and then they'll come home and focus back on league. 2-1 to Atalanta.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Atalanta have looked nice so far in Europa League. 4 goals, 4-1 against. And Sturm Graz, not the same Sturm Graz of old. They're probably going to being at home, they're probably going to give a little bit more risque and try to get more push forward a little bit more. But I think that just means Atalanta encounter them, like you were saying. I think what'd you say, 2-1? You said, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. Yeah, 2-1 on the road. I like that.
Yep. Okay. And then finally, in the Europa Conference League, Fiorentina is taking on Čukarički. Fiorentina right now sit third in their group on 2 points. They drew Ferencváros and then they drew Genk. So now they deal with Čukarički. Players to worry about there. Miladinovic in the midfield, he's kind of the playmaker for this team. He's the guy you're going to probably have to close down and shut down. 3 goals and 2 assists just in their domestic league this season. As far as goals, they've just scored 1 goal. It's a midfielder, Ivanovic. So Fiorentina is a minus 1,000 favorite in this game for a reason. It's a Čukarički team that's kind of been a nice story as far as getting here, but they're out of their element against Genk and Ferencváros. They're definitely going to be out of their element against Fiorentina. Coming off of losing the Tuscan derby, Italiano is going to want to set a tone, I think. I think they score at least 4. But 4-0 is probably where I'm going to go. But it's Fiorentina. They do brain fart their way into giving up a goal. So I'm going to give Čukarički. Let's go 4-1 Fiorentina.
Yeah, you want to say that Fiorentina should really dominate Cucurella or Čukarički.
Čukarički.
Yeah, Gesundheit. No, but no, I agree. I think they're going to want to make amends for the poor game against Empoli. They're going to come out and try to make a statement saying like, "Hey, that's just a one-off. We're past that." And I expect a statement game. 3-0. I like that shot. I mean, I think they're going to take this game very seriously. They obviously took Conference League last year very seriously, but they're going to make a statement. It's all about showing that the last game in the derby was a blip, and they're going to move past that because this is a good team.
Yep.
And I don't expect the Cucurellas to make any fight to Čukarički, but yeah, it's not going to be easy for them at all. And I think Fiorentina wins this handily.
Yep. I am with you there. So that's the European roundup. We still got Who Won Calcio Twitter to do, Richard.
We do.
Let's get on to the world's most popular hashtag game then. Who won Calcio Twitter?
All right. Well, starting things off.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder? He was the best guy around.
So originally, Art Vandelay says Fagioli didn't do anything, and then Joe Cappuccino says, "Me when someone asks about Fagioli's betting scandal, it's like, hey, forget about it. He didn't do nothing. He did nothing."
Let's see. So at Serie A Memes is a Who Won Calcio Twitter nominee. Nicolo, Disney Pixar.
That's a new movie coming out. Oh my god. That's good. Moving on, it's Ufficiale, and it's Nico Fagioli Simulator. Probably get flagged for the Family Guy there, but funny nonetheless.
Leader in the clubhouse. Okay, another one for Serie A Memes. I'll let you translate this.
So don't forget about the 2 consecutive European finals. And it's this Mourinho. When
Kevin James face.
Yeah. The meme that's been going around lately. So
okay, Serie A Memes coming around. Okay, and now Pogba edition for Atalanta with Gasperini. This is good.
Yeah. The juicing continues, right? All right.
Mercy.
Moving on, it's Bellingham goals this season. Funny by Troll Football, but Bellingham has been playing ridiculous this year. But that's funny.
He has been. He definitely has been. Okay, Troll Football, sleeping habits of some football stars.
Neymar rolling around. Salah, Hakimi, Messi. Oh, fucking. Oh,
Simeone in the bus.
Coffee.
Sergio Ramos.
Red card.
Ten Hag.
Ten Hag, yeah. Hakimi again.
That was worth it.
That's good. That's good. Troll Football.
All right. At Max Juventino, there goes betting. Now I need one more to win. Illegal betting, financial irregularities, European ban, doping scandal, endless injuries, terror ball, point deduction, ex-player lawsuits, all marked down. Now Allegri extension is all that's left.
Did I miss that? Where is that?
You did. It's October 11th. We nominated it.
It didn't show up on my screen. But I remember that one. That is a funny one. On that theme, Juventus News Live 2023 for 2022, 2023 for Juventus so far. Chiesa injury, Pogba extortion case, Pogba season end injury, Plus Valenza case, dreadful football, board resigns, points stocked, points returned, worst Champions League season in recent memory, points stocked again, finished third but actually seventh, bullied out of Super League, kicked out of Europe for one season, Pogba doping allegations, Pogba counter-analysis positive, Bonucci sues club, Fagioli betting scandal, and everyone's laughing their ass off.
Real quick one at No Context Footy. Why the fuck Griezmann bald looks like Guardiola?
Yeah, I saw that one. That was funny. There's a bingo one. I see your one now. Okay, I got it.
Yep.
Different order. There's a Griezmann one there with that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks more like Ten Hag than anything else. All right. From days since Juventus won the Champions League, unexpected Juventus player Nicolo Fagioli is being investigated for betting reasons on day number 10,003 since the fraudulent team won the Champions League.
Nice. I'm going to skip Z Potorki 11 ACM.
All right.
I don't think we need to discuss things that are with conflicts going on like that. What Gattuso mad? Furlani and Moncada were cooking with Tonali's sale. So.
There was another one we skipped. Kicks and Picks podcast. So Rizza says IFTV says Nico Fagiolo has been investigated, and Kicks and Picks said we would like to formally announce this week's guest on the pod. They obviously do betting on that show, Kicks and Picks, so that's hilarious. Let's see. Not doing that. Like you said. Here we go. Lisi. So this is the original picture is Italy propaganda. It's Federico Chiesa, Tonali, Fagioli, and Zaniolo talking. What are they talking about? So Chiesa, you guys actually bet on games? Tonali, yeah, while sitting on the bench. Zaniolo, yeah, what's the big deal? Don't you? Fagioli,
Alexa, who we've had on this podcast before.
Yeah.
Pogba caught illegally doping. Fagioli faces up to a 3-year ban for illegal betting, and still the worst scandal of them all is the rumor that this club wants Bernardeschi back.
Oh, Bernardeschi.
Good one.
Yeah. Oh, out of context football. It's Tonali at the betting tables. Our guy looks like him.
Yep.
Oh my God, poor kid.
Okay. At Nicholas_Calcio, Berardi against small teams, and it's a picture of Ronaldo.
Yeah.
The original
R9.
Ronaldo. R9.
The original R9. All right, Daniel Lucci. So the original tweet was Tonali was only name mentioned in the document on the Fagioli presented. So Fagioli ratted him out for, I don't know if we mentioned that earlier, but Fagioli to Tonali as soon as the ops come asking questions. Throw him under the bus.
Yep.
Daniel Lucic with that one.
Okay, at Joe_Cappuccino, Fagioli out to Juve after 10 months.
Oh, I guess start us over.
Hey, here he is.
Oh, you broke your cherry.
You broke your cherry.
Goodfellas.
Oh,
one of the all-time classic mob movies. I'll say this though: I think the best mob movie I've ever seen. I think that's probably the best one out there as far as script, plot, sticking to the true story, and all that other stuff. Was the Gotti, not the one with John Travolta, the original one that came out in the mid-90s with Armando Sante.
okay.
Have you seen that one?
I don't think I have.
Okay, check that one out.
All right.
There are people out there that are saying that they were as close as you're going to be allowed to get, to what really went on. So,
Okay.
So if people ever want to revisit that kind of history. So, at C Calcistica, 8:30 a.m., Crotone officially sacking their manager. At 2:40 p.m., Crotone unofficially unsacked their manager.
Yeah, just kidding. We'll come back here, please. We got no takers.
I hit you because I love you.
Gianna Della Calle is Fagioli in the courtroom. So Fagioli on the betting app was given to me by Tonali. Oh my God.
All right. At Milan Posts, AC Milan are among a host of Serie A clubs monitoring Harry Maguire's situation.
I said I said for fuck's sake, that's got to be a Who on Couch or Twitter nominee because that's some bullshit right there. Like, who the fuck wants Harry Maguire?
Yep.
I got nominated for this. Obviously, I can't do that. But Furlani, when United called their bluff about Maguire.
Let me tell you something. Wait.
I love that meme. All right. You did that one already. Oh no. Betting app was given to me by yeah, when the betting app was given to Tonali by Fagioli, and Tonali's like, the betting app was given to me by Zaniolo, so he's throwing out Zaniolo under the bus. Tonali is.
Let's see here. We got Bob replying. The Italian players. Okay, this is from at Don Achius. The Italian players when they miss out on the Euros, but at least they bet for England and William Hill.
I'm leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something. I'm leaving here.
I love that song.
That's great.
That's great.
That's great. That's my pick in the clubhouse right now.
Yeah, you got nominated too. It's what is stopping the team from winning Euro 2024? Other teams are better than them. Yeah, I made some smart ass comment too. It's like, really? Like,
yep. All right. Our friend George is in the house. Tonali when Milan lost 5-2 to Sassuolo, but he bet over 5 goals.
oh, that's good. That's good, George. That's one of your better ones there. Buffon talking to these kids at Coverciano.
Right stuff now. All right, so I got to teach y'all how to get around all this stuff too. If you're gonna have a crew, one of them fools got to know he going to jail. We'll get him out.
We'll get him out.
You gotta have a fall guy. You gotta have a fall guy.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Oh my. All right, so Saturnian is in. I don't like how disproportionate the punishment for Fagioli is compared to Tonali. Frankly, Tonali is being overpunished. Fagioli is banned for 7 months, while Tonali has to live in Newcastle for another year.
Bazinga! Apex said that's Napolinismo's new account. Which one is it? Send us a message. Which one it is? I'm curious. I wonder if it's that Beto Acevedo. Anyway, let us know.
Don Atius, I think.
Oh, Don Atius. Okay.
Which wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, because here's another nomination here, and it's Tonali and the 3 years banned for betting. He's a Trojan horse, and Milan's like, here you go, Newcastle. Here's your new Trojan horse. Creative.
All right. Siakino, Apex Crafter nominated Siakino. I think Siakino has been a winner in the past. Redbird after selling Tonali for $80 million, knowing he had a gambling addiction.
Laughing about it, money coming in.
Push it to the limit.
That's a good one. All right. Christian says Allegri to Fagioli when he broke down on the bench for Sassuolo. Fact: 90% of gambling addicts quit right before they're about to hit it big. Keep doing it, kid.
At Francesco Calcio, Sassuolo left back looks familiar. They got Barella's face there for Pedersen.
Womp womp womp. Big Show, top scorer in Serie A. It's Bert. Is it Bert or is it Ernie? Which one is that? I don't remember anymore.
It's Bert.
Yeah. Okay. That looks like Lautaro. Sure does.
Yep.
Oh gosh.
It's actually really funny.
Yeah.
All right. So huge 3 points for Arsenal and their 3-2 win from at Beto Acevedo. I don't understand the joke.
I don't even.
Oh, this team's mentality in the 97th minute. Yeah, okay. Got it.
I didn't even see it. I'll take your word for it. The Vafangul, Art Morelli says international Milano fans rooting for Juventus tomorrow.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Let's see. So Saturnian again. Wow, can't wait to see the Coliseum next time I go to Milano.
So Fox Soccer posted out this thing for the game, and it was Milan versus Juventus, and the Coliseum was behind it. It's like, no, that's Rome. What are you doing? That's not where the San Siro is. So he's like, wow, I can't wait to see the Coliseum next time I go to Milano. They obviously took it down because they whoops.
All right. Where are we at now? We've got
Wayne Gerard. It's when you're fired from valet parking after being accused of taking the Ferrari for a joyride, and it's Allegri throwing off his old clothes basically.
Yep.
In the Milan game.
All right, and then IFTV. I have our one of our competing podcasts got nominated. Giroud plays goalkeeper one time, and now he's the backup for Salernitana too.
It kind of looks like him.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Needs to highlight his hair, though. So, I think we're in agreement about who the winner is in this one. It was the
Donatius. Can we confirm that is the new?
Apex says it is.
Okay.
Let's go find it out.
I've got it.
I just want to see it again. There we go. What's this one? Yeah.
Denzel Washington and Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
I'm
leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
Leave it with something. Don Atius.
Don Atius.
100 days account. Yeah, I assume this is him. It looks right up his alley with the tweets, but yeah. That's funny.
I think the old Napoleonismo account got banned or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm out of water. But that was Who Won Culture Twitter. So
yeah.
Shout out real quick to Anthony Peretra from Inter Worldwide and Football Worldwide joining us on the podcast last week to fill in for Frank. Did a marvelous job as always.
Yes, he did.
So fantastic to have him on. Always good to see him. Good to talk to him. Our friend over there down under. So
yeah, great to have him on. He did a great job. It was a great listen. So occupied some air travel time for me on my flight home. So I appreciate it. So with that, I think we're going to put a bow on this edition of Serie A Sit Down. Just as my health notification on my phone said it's time for bed.
I thought you were saying your wife said time to go to bed now. Come on.
No, it's my whatever. It's what I get for being an old man. I like remind myself when I'm supposed to go to bed. So we're gonna so with that said, we're gonna put a bow on this edition of Serie A Sit Down. We have our own channel on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever there's podcasts. There's Serie A Sit Down. At Serie A Sit Down on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days. It's also on Instagram. We're also on Facebook. So check us out in any of those spots. If you're watching us here on the YouTube channel and you have not watched us on the YouTube channel before, then hit the subscribe button so that you know when, and especially the notification bell so that you know when we're going back live again. And also, please drop a like because you know you enjoyed yourself here during this time. That's all I got. We got some big games this weekend: Napoli, Milan, and Inter Roma.
Yeah. Should be doozies for sure. So can't wait.
Yep.
Can't wait.
I like Milan has figured out Napoli, so I'm gonna continue to ride that and go 1-0 to Milan. I'm gonna go Inter and Roma 1-1.
Okay, I'm gonna go draw on the Milan game and Inter win their game.
Okay, sounds good. So that was our Cliff Notes version of what we think are going to happen in the big games this weekend. We'll talk about those more. Next Tuesday night's Halloween, Richard. So when are we going to do this?
Next day, I guess. Maybe Wednesday. We'll see. We'll get back to you guys.
Yep. We'll let you all know when we're going to get live again. So you'll check us out at Serie A Sit Down on Twitter is where we'll give you the heads up on when we go live again on the YouTube channel. So we'll have to figure out schedules because our kids like to trick or treat, and our wives are going to expect us to be going around the block with them instead of being on here talking Calcio with all of you. Hope you understand.
That's right. Chat, thank you. You guys were awesome.
Yeah, as always. We always get
banter.
the great comments, great questions, great input. Appreciate you guys. Always. So with that said, for Richard, I'm Frank. As always, tell your paisans about us. Ciao.
Sul fondo mette in mezzo l'aggancia di Lorenzo e il Napoli è passato.